Okay, so for our question 6 with TN Academy, we are given the 4 facts here where fx is equal to sine qx, where q is greater than 0, and we're given the graph of fx for the interval 0, x is greater than or equal to 0, and less than or equal to 4m, where x is in radians. And we are given the x-intercepts at 0, 2m, and 4n. And lastly, we're given another function, g at x, which is equal to 3 sine of 2qx divided by 3, which lies on the interval x is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 6. So for our first question, we're asked to find an expression for m in terms of q. So we'll first look at, we look at our graph and the given values here. Well, firstly, the given interval, which we can also just see on our graph. The interval is actually, if we look at the graph, we see that this is our period. I will just call it P is equal to 4m. And now the equation for period is P is equal to 2 pi divided by the variable in our equation which precedes x. So we have sine q of x. So we can say that our period is 2 pi over q. And q is also, or p is also equal to 4m. So if we write this fact in terms of m, we can say that m is equal to 2 pi over q, 4q, q times 4. And if we simplify that, we get 2 pi, if we simplify that, we get pi over 2q. So m is equal to pi over 2q. Okay, so for our next question, we're asked to, on the same graph as f at x, we're asked to sketch g at x, where g at x is equal to 3 sine x, or 3 sine of 2qx divided by 3. Okay, and the way that I am doing this will be by finding our horizontal and vertical stretch factor, where our horizontal stretch factor is equal to the reciprocal of our values that precede our x term here, which will then be 3 over 2. And our vertical stretch factor is equal to the value that's in front of our function, so it'll be 3. So if we look, I will use different points. I'll use m, 2m, 3m, and 4m, because whole numbers are always a lot easier. So we can see at m, which is our x value, our y value is equal to 1. So if we look at our horizontal and vertical stretch factor, we can see that our first, for m, our value will become 3 over 2m, okay? And our y value will become 3. So that should look something like 1.5, 1.5m. So we'll say it should be right in the middle, and our y value will be up at 3. So it should be right there, okay? So for our second value, we have 2m. 2m, which is one of the zeros. So our y value will be equal to 0. And with our horizontal and vertical stretch factors, this will then become 3m and 0, because 0 times 0 is 0. So our next value will be 3m at the 0. Okay. Then doing this with our next values, we'll have 3 m and 1, okay, and negative 1. So our x value will become 9 over 2m, and our y value will become negative 3. And 9 over 2 is 4.5m, so that should be about halfway through. 4.5m, and this will be at negative 3. Just so I can see. Negative 3. So we'll be right about there. And finally, for our last value of 4m, it is again one of the zeros. So we will have 4m and 0. So our x value becomes 4 times 3 is 12 over 2. We could rewrite this as 6m, and the y value will remain as 0. So that will be right about there. So x marks the spot for all my points. Here and here. And our first point still begins at the 0, of course. So our function should look something like this. Okay, so it's been stretched out quite a bit, and yeah, is somewhat larger than our previous function.